This week the topic is economics and political anthropology. So we're going to talk about both of those things, but they're split into two separate lectures. So first we'll start with economics. And we study this because we take this holistic perspective. So to understand the culture, we have to understand all of the different aspects. And so instead of just studying culture very broadly, we study bits and pieces of it. And that includes the economy. And the way we talk about the economy as anthropologists is a little different, and it's not focused so much on monetary gain as opposed to other things, because economies in different cultures are different. Okay, so I don't want to take up too much of your time with an intro, so we'll go ahead and jump right into the lecture for this week. First of all, is money actually the measure of all things? And so here in the US, we tend to think so. We tend to think that anything can be purchased and everything has a monetary value. You just have to reach it. Okay, but think for a second about what is the price of the Declaration of Independence? What is the price of my kidney or my left arm? Any of your childhood possessions. We can talk about heirlooms. We can talk about virginity. People have tried to sell these things, and when that happens, there's a bit of a backlash. There's some issues that arise because it challenges this belief. We have this belief that money is the measure of all things and that money can buy everything, but then we come across some items or some experiences that we can't really place a monetary value on, and we kind of come into a moral impasse there, because it is immoral in our culture, right, to sell your virginity. That is not something that we consider to be okay. And so this challenges our idea that money is the measure of everything. Okay, and what this is doing is this is suggesting that there is some deeper process that defines what's acceptable economic transactions, and it also helps us establish value. And so it's more than just a very surface understanding of how much something costs. It goes beyond that to a kind of moral and ethical acceptability. And this is shaped by our culture. That's what's shaping this idea of what's okay to buy and sell. Okay, there's also cultural expectations of how and why transactions will occur, and how we value things. Valuation of objects can change in different cultures, even if it's the same object. So cattle in the US aren't quite valued as highly as in Maasai culture, for example. So in economic anthropology, we want to study these things, okay? And so economic anthropology is a subdiscipline, but not a subfield. Don't get those confused, right? But talking about how people make, share, and buy things and services, okay? So it's not just about purchasing, but it's also about sharing and making and engaging with things and services, right? And I'm sure all of you have heard about economics, but the emphasis is slightly different in anthropology and in economics. So anthropologists are less concerned about these overall patterns or helping people earn and maintain wealth, more interested in what we call economic systems. And these are just structured patterns and relationships through which people exchange goods and services. And it's also how the economy and culture affect each other and how they work together in this kind of cyclical cycle of influence, right? And so we do this cross-culturally a lot of times. We'll study not just our culture, but another. Comparative methods are used a lot in economic anthropology as well. Okay, so it's the same ideas a little bit, right? We're studying the economy, and we're studying different economies and how they're structured, and how that influences culture. But an economist is more interested in predicting patterns and looking at patterns of spending and money transfer and things like that, and helping people earn or maintain wealth. So the emphasis in what we're studying is a little different, even though we're kind of studying the same process. And there are a few theoretical approaches. So we've got neoclassical economics, substantivism, Marxism, and cultural economics. So cultural economics is the only one of these that was actually developed by and for anthropologists. And so what I want to do next is we'll go through each of these in kind of their own video, and we'll talk about each one. And then eventually we'll get to cultural economics, which is the theory proposed by and for anthropologists.